Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. I'm getting an update from Mantaro Precious Metals, traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol MNTR and on the OTCQB under the symbol MSLVF. I am chatting again with the chairman, Chris Wilson. Now, Mantaro Precious Metals focused on exploration of high-grade precious metal systems in South America, primarily Peru and Bolivia. We're going to follow up on a few news releases that have come out early in October. First, let's recap the initial drill results from the 3,000-meter drill program at the Golden Hill project. Now, the first hole that we have back is hole 3, intersected 4.69 meters at 5.15 grams per ton gold. Now, we are still waiting for 20 more of these holes to come out. So, Chris, just remind everybody the overall strategy of this drill program at Golden Hill now that we're going to start to see some of these actual results, please.
Yeah, certainly, Corey, and it's nice to talk to you again. As we said all along, Golden Hill never really been drilled properly, despite being a small operating mine with open pit and underground development and simple gravity recovery. And it did very well for a few years. Then the company that had it sort of lost the ability to go deeper. They didn't understand these greenstone type systems. So we started by looking underground. We took a 10-ton blast, a 10-ton bulk sample. That came in close to 6 grams with excellent gravity recovery and brilliant cyanide leachability. So that sort of confirmed the thesis at that stage that there was depth potential. Visible veins at surface, visible workings. So the concept of the 3,000 meters was basically to look at the depth extension of these surface workings and to step out over approximately 300 plus meters of the main zone, and then put a few other holes in the veins that are slightly further away as reconnaissance scout holes to get some sense of what's going on. So yeah, the first hole, number 3 to come in, almost 5 meters at just over 5 grams per ton under the open pit. That's nice grade, including several meters, 2 meters up to 9.38. It's important to understand, if you look at the long sections of any of the greenstones in the Abitibi, West Africa, Australia, you often get intercepts like this over large areas. Then you nose in on the higher grade part of the system. And so the gold presents is sort of lozenge shaped lodes or high grade pods that are several hundred meters or more, both vertical and along strike. So it's not a bad first hole. It certainly confirms the thesis. I'd just like to say the reason we've got hole 3 in first, we're still pending assays for the other 20, hole 1 and 2 as well. Samples go in batches, and obviously these were processed at the lab, batches 5, 6, whatever were processed at the lab before the others. So hole 3 was released simply because they were the results. We're still waiting for holes 1 and 2 and all the others.
Okay, thanks for addressing that. I was going to ask simply because there have been a couple questions that came in asking why hole 3 was the first one back. Now, are there any areas that were drilled within this drill program that you guys are, let's say, more encouraged about, that maybe were higher up on your priority list?
Yeah, the problem you have is this is not an obvious style of mineralization as you're drilling it. If you're drilling across an epithermal quartz vein, you can go from a sort of dark gray or greenish altered rock into obvious quartz vein and out the other side, and you say, well, we've drilled the vein and we're going to sample the vein in 5 meters either side. Now that's a fairly straightforward thing to do as an exploration geologist. This is a sort of quartz carbonate type of greenstone deposit that's in what's called a ductile brittle transition. So it's subtle. You get lots of little quartz veinlets and silicification in carbonate. It's very difficult to pick these zones and assign an optimistic look just on the basis of the core. But on comparison of what we've had in hole 3, where the zones were slightly more silicified, slightly higher density veins, yes, we've certainly drilled, the right parts of the structure, both above and below and along. That's not to say anything, we can't guarantee anything's going to come in, but we have drilled comparable structures all the way along. So again, we're optimistic and we like most of the holes we put into the system so far.
Okay, so we will just, I guess, continue to wait for the rest of the results to come back, and we can follow up on those. We should also point out that the company has now acquired 51% of this Golden Hill property. Take us through this arrangement, this earn-in agreement that you have on this project, please.
Yeah, just coming back to the assays for a second, all of the samples are now in the laboratory, and the style of assays, they can't assay at the laboratory in Bolivia, so they're prepared there, then they're DHL'd. We use ALS Ireland, but they have to be taken out of country. So this is another reason why it's taken a bit longer than normal. Prepped in country, assayed outside. Yeah, 51%. We've obviously got Luis on Mantaro's board. He's running the program. He's really been helpful. It's not sort of a JV as you'd see it in the normal sense. You cannot transfer a license under Bolivian law. So you can't have a JV per se. What we're actually doing is earning into the shareholding of the local company. So we're 51% with the option to go to 80. Luis is very on board. He likes what we've done. It's largely earning driven. But if the markets continue to be bad and we have to slow the programs down, I don't see any impediment to having a chat in sort of pushing out our timelines. Okay.
Okay. Let's also talk about the October 4th news release. We had a bit of a management change here. The CEO, Craig Harefield, resigned as CEO. What's going to be the process to replace him? What else can you tell us about the makeup of management currently?
Okay, well, that came as a bit of a surprise to all of us. And one of the reasons we wanted a CEO in North America is I'm obviously in the UK. I'm a single father of two daughters, and having to work Canadian time day in, day out was becoming very difficult, and having the role as single parent. So, the idea was to get the CEO in North America. That's still the issue. I haven't become the CEO. I'll remain as the executive chairman, chief geologist. So although we've lost our CEO, the rest of the management, we're all here. We've all been working behind the scenes throughout all of it. But we will want to find a new CEO who's engaging, who's in the time zone, and has junior exploration company experience. And probably the time to start looking at that a bit more seriously is as the rest of the results come in over the next weeks or months. Once we've got a sense for what Golden Hill is, we'll have a better sense for what sort of CEO we want. And I say that for a simple reason. Golden Hills is a fully permitted mining concession. That's really important. It's got open pits, it's got tailings, it's got underground development. So if we continue to hit sort of interesting to good intercepts, then you'd possibly want a CEO who's got a bit more experience in looking at production stories or that sort of option. So it will come organically over the next few weeks. The same team is in place. The same management is in place. We're looking at some very aggressive cost cutting. Markets are challenging. So collectively, I think we've got the experience to ensure that these two good projects are held intact, that we meet all the benchmarks, and at the same time, really trimming down this company until we can get a CEO on and look at how we then move out into more drill programs.
All right, let's also talk about another project within the company's portfolio here. That is the Santa's Gloria project, the high-grade silver project in Peru. Any updates you can provide us here, work going on at this asset, please?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're permitted. In one of the things that sort of most people perhaps don't understand, certain countries in South America, Mexico, Peru, for example, and some others, normally you would drill a hole within your concession, and then what you've learned on that hole, you might modify your drill program as you go forward. In Peru, we need to basically say where we're going to drill our holes, and then we have to drill sort of within 5 or 10 meters of that position. So we're permitted for the holes we want. The process of actually putting the drill pads in is to have someone from the ministry up there just to give oversight, both environmentally and culturally. We have our cultural clearance in place, so we're basically ready to build our drill pads. But because we can't move the rig around ad hoc, we're really trying to work out where those pads should be, fine tuning them. so that we could possibly get 4 to 6 holes off each pad. And that's important because Santos Glorias, I've drilled these in a lot of South American countries. I've been involved in them. And Santa Glorias really has some very nice looking undergrade intercepts, super high grade. It's a classic intermediate sulfidation. They're a well-known deposit type. But what's also important is these, 2 to 3 to 4 meter wide brecciated veins up on the surface, up on the flat part of Santos Glorias, which were never amenable to mining in a local scale. And they're both silver and gold rich. So it's a great project, low altitude, good distance out of Peru, community agreements into 2028, ready to build the pads. But we want to get those right. It'd be terrible to drill 2 and say, oops, we've learned from the first and we can't really justify the next 2. So we want to make sure every pad gives us the optionality we need to do this deposit, this mineralized system, not deposit, this mineralized system justice. But we're ready to go.
Fair enough. That's the way this market is too, right? You don't need to rush to get onto the ground anywhere. You do need to, or at least you have time right now to continue to isolate your targets. And as the market improves, well, then that's even a better time to drill. You get more recognition for that. Chris, I think that pretty much covers everything going on recently within Mantaro Precious Metals. If anybody has any follow-up questions, please email me, fleck@kereport.com. I'll get Chris to address those, and I will also follow up when we see some more drill results come out of the company. Chris, thank you for your time. Please keep us up to date on future news.
Absolutely, Corey. Thank you very much.